Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community, we were going racing with B Class all-wheel drive cars. Vehicles could be swapped, which is why you see things like the Civic, for example, why you see a Corvette, why you'll see me driving around in a Holden. Yes, they are still all-wheel drive. Our first race was at the Road America West alternate layout. The Civic that we were following here, coming under threat from a Corvette. The Corvette having a look around the outside, not quite making it, as the Civic ends up outbraking the VWs. A lovely cutback from the Corvette to get past the pair of them. The Civic's upper place, and Audi sweeps around the outside. The Audi would move up as well. All-wheel drive cars are a little bit less used in Forza 7, certainly on Horizon 3. It was huge power, all-wheel drive was generally the way to win everything. On Forza 7, they tend not to work quite, they tend not to be used quite as much. They can work very well, but they tend not to be used quite as much, so that's why I figured we'd go for all-wheel drive for something a little bit different this time around. Although, of course, people like me were still using unusual all-wheel drive cars. My Holden had started down at the very back and had plenty of traffic to try and make its way through. It was very, very quick down the straights, not so good around some of the corners. It was 3 wide up ahead. The Volkswagen eventually running out of grip, I think had a weird on the grass, and skating off into that sand trap. Very easy to do at that final corner. I was coming up against the Volkswagen down towards the first corner. Had a look at trying to go the long way around. If you can go around the outside of turn 1, of course, you'll be on the inside for turn 2, but I couldn't quite make that one stick. However, we were coming to the part of the circuit that my Tirana liked. It liked this bit quite a lot with its tremendous acceleration. Not only do I clear the VW, I also go shooting past the Audi and chasing down the Opel up ahead. Yeah, my car was very, very quick down the straights. However, it wasn't the best when it came to the corners. While the lead two were at this stage a little bit on their own. Third place was quickly coming up for grabs, and Audi was, well, trying to cling on to it, but coming under pressure from a Corvette. The S1 was also coming to join in. The Corvette gets to the inside at the hairpin. The Audi, though, is determined not to give up on this one. It is a long, long way around the outside of this final corner. It's immensely difficult to get a pass completed there unless you have a huge amount of grip advantage over your opponent. The Corvette holds it there, can't quite complete the move, although when the time they get down towards the first corner, the Corvette can brake later and get the car stopped. A little bit running wide. The grass down that section is very, very scary. If you put a wheel on the grass a little bit too much there, the Corvette gets away with it, but you can get your car stuck on the grass and you can't pull it off in time, and then you clonk a tyre bundle. I don't think we saw any of that this week, although we have seen that's a very common place to get into trouble, shall we say, at this circuit. Further back, the battle for, I think it was 10th place, this one between an Escort and 22B. This would rage for a few laps. In the end, the Ford in a little bit of trouble out wide at the hairpin. You don't want to carry so much speed on the way into there. As soon as you've lost that little bit of momentum, you've got a car right behind you. The Impreza is happy to sweep around the outside, kind of get to the corner first and make the pass, although the Escort has a think about going down the inside into the first corner. The Subaru gives them space, but it's on such a narrow line and a little bit too far back. The Ford can't quite make it stick, although it's the 22B's turn to play it very, very dangerously. The amount of people that have been playing it dangerously on that grass and not found their way into the tyre bundle surprises me, because normally as soon as you touch the grass you're in a world of trouble. At the front, the 205 running in second had caught the leader, and it was the battle of the classic rally cars, some of the most successful rally cars ever. The 205 and the Lancia Delta. Although try as the Peugeot might, it was having a tough time finding a way past that. Lancia got to the inside briefly at the hairpin, but couldn't really make that pass stick, and as we head up towards the final corner, the Peugeot had to fall back into line, and the Lancia would continue to lead the race. For me, I'd worked my way up into 9th place, although we're struggling to make too much more progress forward. I was coming up against an Opel Kadett, The Opel was a bit better than me through the corners. I was a bit faster down the straights, and this was the closest I had been so far. With a good run, I could get out of the slipstream and get the Holden hopefully stopped in time for the corner. Park the Tirana on the apex so that the Opel can't go for a cutback. Use the acceleration briefly down this next bit, and then hope that you can hold on through the next corners, because yeah, the Holden wasn't the nicest of cars to drive through here. Thankfully for me, I actually went a little bit wide through all of that, but thankfully the Opel pushed it a little bit too hard as well on the way in, so was not quite close enough. Up ahead of mine and the Opel's little battle was this group of cars. The Civic was trying to fend off from the Peugeot and had been for a number of laps. The Audi had made a little mistake and dropped back into this group. The Peugeot, having the best opportunity it had all race, tries to go around the outside while the Audi put a wheel on the grass and would end up being carted off into the sand trap. And the Peugeot tried. Peugeot could get alongside, just never quite complete the pass on that Civic as they head into the next few corners, and the Civic would regain the position. It was, yeah, the Peugeot had that little bit more top-end speed. The Civic seemed to get out of the corner that bit better. So every time the Peugeot drew alongside, the Civic would just out-drag it somewhere. And, yeah, the big old Peugeot was unable to make the pass stick. And all of their fighting was allowing me and the Opel to catch up at the front, and things were going to get all rather eventful on the final lap. The Lancia had done so well to hold on to the lead under increasing pressure from the 205 until a little mistake left it out wide, and well, the Peugeot's going to take that opportunity as soon as he can, although it's not all over for the Delta. There are still plenty of corners, and the Lancia is right there having a look. Doesn't want to go around the outside through this very, very fast turn. The Audi's come to join them as well now as they head up towards these final few corners. The Lancia gets a very, very good run down this straight. It's to the outside through one corner. There's a bit of a hip bump from the Peugeot as they head up towards this final turn. And the Lancia's got itself in front. The Audi's to the inside as they head around this very, very long corner, and the Lancia's just gone that little bit too fast, left a gap on the inside, and the Audi from absolutely nowhere sneaks past both of them for the victory on the final corner. That's a hell of a final. That's a hell of a final turn. I don't think we've ever had a 3-wide change of position on the final corner of a race. Well done. Well done for the Audi and Pega taking victory, a sneaky victory. Twisty in second with that Lancia. Please don't hit me with the Peugeot. Falls to third on that final corner. A fantastic battle and an incredible final lap. Our second race, and we would head to Suzuka in some rather adverse conditions. It was supposed to be lightning storms, but I'm not sure the replay has the lightning going on. Either way, it's very, very bloody wet here, but we all have got, you know, the all-wheel drive cars, so we should have some levels of grip, although quite a few vehicles ended up going on the exploring side of things through the first corners, mine included. Not quite as bad as some, but I had a little bit of an off across the grass. This Scirocco that the camera following is making good progress through these first few corners, gets past him, and he kind of avoids the mayhem, gets past him, and he is now up towards this next group, having a look for an away past and a bath. I think the Volkswagen got himself to the inside, gets a better run, a better drive out of the corner, get the pass completed on that bath, while I think some Eagle Talon up ahead is all sorts of crossed up on the grass. That's not where you want to be. Has spat out onto the gravel. The Scirocco trying to get to the inside of the Subaru, but can't quite make the pass stick at that particular corner. As you can imagine, it was far from easy driving in these conditions, and it wouldn't be long before, on the most part, the field would be a bit spread out. However, even further back in these opening laps, there was some exciting stuff going on. This BMW i8 with an engine swap and so on was making its way around the outside of a Skyline. It's not the easiest of places to get overtakes done through those S's. Now, the BMW was very, very quick around the corners, and that certainly helped when it came to the rain, but not so fast when it came to the straights. Also not helped by a big Odyssey and Focus having a fight on the way in to these next couple of corners. BMW can't quite get himself alongside, can't quite get past, kind of gets stuck a little bit behind the big people carrier, and then struggling in terms of speed out of the corner. Well, the Skyline's come back from actually quite a long way. Should be able to, you know, maximum attack through those couple of corners. The Skyline's back through. It then runs very, very deep into the hairpin. The Odyssey's in all sorts of trouble. The BMW briefly retakes the position before Skyline power again. And Odyssey is buggered off into the distance with the silly amounts of power that that thing must have had. I would inherit the lead a little bit, get past a Polaris that then had a small off down the straights, and yeah, I was in trouble. I could, you know, carry good speed down the start-finish line. I was quick down that section, how I got past the Polaris. However, I was not as good through the corners as the Subaru, or the Scirocco, or the Evo, or the Audi, or the Abarth, or the Polaris that had joined the back of this little train. So it was, how long could I hold everybody off for? I knew it was going to be difficult. I knew it was going to be a rather difficult one. At the start of this lap, when everybody was starting to stack up behind me, I knew that the chances of this working out for me well were going to be tough. Of course, the advantage that I did have was that as soon as I got to any sort of acceleration zone, I could run away, and my hope was I could run away far enough. You can see the gap I can pull on the Subaru, I can pull on the Scirocco. I could run away far enough that it would be very difficult for them to attack me into a braking zone somewhere. However, it doesn't help when you make a mistake on your own. On the exit, just trying to get on that power as soon as possible, wheel across the grass. Still though, even with that, I'm the fastest accelerating car here. I held on for, well, half a lap, up until pushed my luck a little bit too much on the way into Spoon. Can't quite get the Holden stopped, and that's 3 cars come soaring past. There's just nothing I could do. It just did not turn well enough. Now the Abarth is trying to join in the fun as well, although wasn't too worried about that. I knew I was going to out-accelerate it as we came down towards 130R, although I did have quite a lot of speed catching up to the cars ahead. Didn't really fancy trying to make this one too wide. I thought about it, and then decided the better idea was to not, you know, go for the spectacular through there in the very difficult-to-drive Holden. Again, as I said, further back, outside of the real front group, it did spread out a bit throughout this race. The focus here started right down the back, was trying to recover up through the field. It is a very, very good overtake around the, well, kind of inside of the first part, around the outside of the second part of that chicane to get the move done. Of course, the Ford was struggling a little bit in terms of straight line speed in this particular battle, and all of that hard work would be undone by the relatively long start-finish straight. That being said, though, they already had one spectacular overtake, so down towards turn 1 with the, I think it's an Eagle Talon or Eclipse, either one, a little bit wide on the way in. It's a big dive up the inside, get the focus stopped. It's kind of 2 good passes on the same car in all of that. Unfortunately, the replay for this one would give up on the final lap. I don't know why. This wasn't a particularly long race either. I don't know why the replay cuts out. However, it would restart, unfortunately. Yeah, not much I can do about that. At the front, the Scirocco, this is the penultimate lap, if you like. The Scirocco made a big mistake coming into the chicane, does get it stopped, and it would be a close final lap, and a nice scary lap for the Scirocco trying to fend off from a very, very quick Audi S1, but that would be the order that they would finish in. The Volkswagen taking the victory, the Audi in second, with the Evo 9 up into a 3rd place. In the end, for my Holden, I think I fell to about 5th, just not quite having the grip in that Tirana. Hordes taking victory with the Scirocco EVR Liam T in second, while Muri would claim 3rd with the Evo. Not a bad showing for front-wheel drive converted to all-wheel drives. Do tend to be a little bit on the wonky side. A lot of them can be on the wonky side. So yeah, to get ones going so quickly is a damn good job. On to race number 3, and we would head to the Catalonia National Circuit. As ever, this turn 1 tends to lead to many cars going 2 and 3 wide. For the most part, aside from a Plymouth that got itself in a little bit of trouble and surprisingly getting spun in front of the entire pack, the Plymouth actually got away with it relatively well. For the most part, even with you know, 3 wide with, you know, an SUV and a pickup truck on the inside. I think it was an Opel Kadett in the end that did have to take to the grass to avoid it. But everybody made it through, which is nice to see. The Volvo actually got off to a pretty good start, making its way up through the order. I would go far too deep into a hairpin. Was kind of briefly leading the way, but coming under, well, increasing threat from a Focus that was a lot better through the corners than me. The Focus going around the outside of my Holden. The Volvo was all the way up into a 4th place now, although that had a Corvette sniffing around at the back of it. Corvette not quite able to make a move into this final technical section. I would lose the lead to the Focus, the Ford up the inside into this final chicane. In the end, I couldn't fight with the grip of the Focus whatsoever. The Volvo would just about fend off the Corvette for now, although it wouldn't be long before that Corvette would move up. The Audi S1, in fact, a couple of cars that had run very fast in earlier races had decided to drop further down the order to kind of have some fun, rather than just running away at the front. The S1 that had taken the amazing victory in the first race was buried in the pack, trying to make its way up the field. Apparently had some issues with curbs. It's a big two-wheel moment for a little hatchback. My Holden could have some issues. In testing, I had some issues. In the races, it was, on the most part, not too bad with getting up on 2 wheels. Either way, the Audi, despite the two-wheel moment, would get the pass completed on the Escort Coldsworth. It was very crowded further back here. The up ahead, the RS3 trying to find a way past a Skyline. The S1 doesn't quite know what way to go in all of this. They're almost 4 wide into the final corner. The Escort having to kind of bail out of that one a little bit. It got very busy. It got very busy further down the order. I think everybody just about managing to recover from all of that. Also, there's a lagged out ghost car hanging around on the start line in the replay, because I don't know what Forza replays for you. I had fallen to second and didn't really have an answer to the Focus. There was little I could do about that car escaping off into the distance. I did have a Corvette for some company, and this I could, well, try and do something about. Much like I had at Suzuka, this was more of a try and cling on for as long as possible, although in the relatively early stages of the race, it seemed unlikely I would manage to cling on for the entirety of the time. Again, it was a case of park the Holden on the apex, use the Tirana's acceleration to get to the next corner first, and then park it on the apex again. Don't leave any space, don't leave any gap for the Corvette to find a way past. Corvette's all over the bumper, so once more it is defend that inside and up towards this final section. Defend the inside some more. Problem is the Corvette is just too good. As much as I defended as much as I could. The Corvette had got too much grip. I could just get around the outside of me. Again, it's not that easy going too wide through that final chicane. It is not the most comfortable of places, fitting 2 cars wide through, but give the Corvette plenty of space. You know, give racing room, and that Corvette's just got too much grip. I then have the speed down the straight. I can challenge sort of in towards turn 1. The Corvette will move across to defend, and there's not so much that I can do around the outside of that. In the end, I would actually end up stuffing my car into the wall. A silly mistake by me with a wheel on the grass would drop me a fair way back. This then would become the battle for third. Yes, a Ford Raptor, a big Volvo, a Mercedes that was amazingly fast through the corners, and the Ford Raptor that was on 2 wheels did not help matters in any of that. As I said, you saw the Audi with a big 2-wheel moment. My Holden could do it. The Raptors, oh yeah, that was happy to go up onto 2 wheels, up on 2 wheels in front of a bunch of onrushing cars. Everyone got, you know, away with that fairly well. The Scirocco had to take some serious avoiding action. The Mercedes profited briefly up to third again before being out-accelerated by both the Raptor and the Volvo as they head up towards this final sort of little technical section. The problem with the poor Mercedes is that the Mercedes can be very, very quick through these corners. Mercedes can be incredibly fast through these technical sections, but can't use any of that speed when stuck in traffic like this, because up ahead of them is a giant SUV and pickup, and you just can't make the most of the speed, and then you go onto a straight, and then everything goes flying past. Yeah, being stuck in traffic, well, like in that sort of situation, is a little bit frustrating. There's not necessarily so much that you can do. While things did get a little bit more spread out in this race than perhaps we have seen, there was still some spectacular overtakes going on. This outside the top 10, however, the Alfa Romeo SZ wanted the position from the 155, and that's around the outside of the final corner. That's too wide through the kind of technical chicane and then getting the acceleration on the exit to get around that outside. That's a very good part, actually. I thankfully had clonked when I went off the road. I hit a tyre bundle, which meant while I lost a bunch of time, I hadn't actually damaged my car, which meant I had a bit of recovery to be doing in all of this. I was catching up to the back of a Hemi Cuda, carried a lot of speed through the chicane, and as we head towards the hairpin, fire the Tirana up the inside, park it on the apex. Again, I was doing a lot of that with this car. I did it a lot of times. Just park it on the apex. The Hemi Cuda wanted to go for the cutback, couldn't because there was suddenly a Holden there, and that moved me up into, I think, about 7th place by the end of it all. At the front, the Focus RS had been mighty quick. No one really had an answer. The Corvette in second was perhaps not so dissimilar in terms of lap time, but having got stuck behind me for a little while, the Corvette was too far back to really do very much. I don't think anybody really had an answer to the Focus around this circuit, though. It was mighty quick. The Ford would go on to take a victory, the Corvette claiming second. In fact, the kind of all-wheel drive hot hatches seemed to be the way to go. Despite a lot of us going creative with different sorts of vehicles, all 3 races won with all-wheel drive. Not necessarily starting all-wheel drive, but won with all-wheel drive hatchbacks. The battle for third, however, that was not over on the final lap. The Raptor was clinging on to that third position. A little mistake from the Volvo had dropped it down the order. Audi S1 was up to 4th. The Scirocco in 5th. Were trying to find a way past the big Ford. As we head in towards this final chicane, neither of them were close enough. The Raptor's up on 2 wheels, the Audi's right there, but there's nowhere to really go around this final corner, especially not against the big pickup truck. The Audi can get a good run, it can try and get to the inside, but it isn't going to matter. The Raptor's going to have the straight line speed, and the Raptor would take a very hard fought for and well-earned third position ahead of the Audi and Scirocco. To the podium, Please Let Me would take a victory with that Focus. PTG Westmeister in second with the Corvette. And F1 Kieran did a fantastic job of getting the Raptor to the podium. All in all, my Holden was quite good. It was an okay car. It was a solid top 10 car, but it didn't really have the handling. Yes, it was very fast when we got to the straights, but the problem is it got out-cornered, and it just couldn't really cling on with the much better handling cars that were still fairly fast down the straight. This one was a little bit too much to the power end of the spectrum and not enough when it came to the cornering. I liked it. It was a fun car to drive. It wasn't a hard car to drive, even if I made a silly mistake with it. However, yeah, it wasn't quick enough around the corners, and that was that really. But I had some good fun racing. That's kind of the more important thing. I did have some good fun racing in all of that. That, though, is going to be it for this week's Versus the Community. The next one is going to be held on Friday this time around, as I'm doing a special Wreckfest event on Thursday evening. The Versus the Community is going to have to be moved to Friday the 8th of June. We'll still be at 7 PM BST. We are going to go racing with D Class convertibles. If you would like to sign up and take part in that, then you can via our forums. There'll be a link in the description of this video. Find the FailRace Versus the Community section and you can sign up in there. However, that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.